Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this next chapter of the March of the Vikings. This is not starting the game. The mod is not yet ready, quite frankly, and I probably need another week. So I know I said I was going to try and get it out today. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm now aiming for next Saturday instead. But I'm pretty confident about reaching that, because a lot of the big bit is done. I just need to implement it. So I have got every single idea group for every single national idea group for every single nation that I want to customize already written out. I just need to put it into code and implement. I've also got the countries placed in the world in a way that I am now happy with, and I've started coloring and customizing and that type of thing as well. So you'll see this little blue stripe down here. That is Mordgard, announcing that we are playing as Mordgard. Or maybe Mordgard, or I haven't quite decided that. Mordgard's ideas are actually done. Of course, this is coming with a note saying everything is subject to change. This is not like the final. Things might well change as I get through balancing. Like, I've noticed a lot of my force limit numbers are off. I was using similar numbers to the manpower pool, but that's wrong. But anyway, Mordgard, we are starting with, and this is going to be interesting, every single Viking nation is going to have the May Raid Coasts ability. And that's to kind of simulate the very aggressive, very raidery nature of the Vikings. I mean, we had that throughout Crusader Kings II. We continued using that ability right until the very, very end. So I thought, you know what, that is entirely appropriate. So every single Viking nation is going to get the May Raid Coasts ability. And I'll actually be creating a generic Norse national group, which will go to everyone who has the Norse culture that does not already have a custom idea group. And there are actually quite a few nations that are having custom groups, and that's why this is taking a while. So we have the May Raid Coasts and we have the yearly legitimacy. We are, after all, the Viking nation. And then the ambition is global settler increase and trade steering. So we're going for a very expansionist, very colonial type game. The ideas in order are the Adventuring Vikings, which gives us missionary strength and cultural conversion cost. All of the Viking nations starting in India have this idea first, because you kind of need it. Then we have the Huscarl Retinue, which is plus 15% infantry combat ability. Memories of Konugard, development cost minus 20%. Scandinavian Classics, tech cost minus 10%. Legacy of Gotland, 5% more trade efficiency. Mordred's Monument, in honour of Mordred the 12th. Minus 10% construction cost, and then finally the Saga of the Titans, plus 10% morale of armies and 1% yearly prestige. So you can see we've very much been drawing on the history of the Viking nation here, and I've kind of drawn on all the various different phases of growth. So Gotland with its trade, and well, it itself wasn't trade, but it became a merchant republic, and people kind of remember it as a merchant republic. Then Konugard, which we invested thousands of ducats into building that area up, so that's why we have the development and the build cost. And then finally, when we actually got to India, the more tradey route slant, because we are on the coast, and that is kind of what we were trying to do there. Then the other blue faction, or the bluey-white factions in this area, including the dark one up there, those are the Viking ones, and I wanted to choose blue because it sticks out from the red of the Indians, and I tried to colour it depending on what they were doing. So like this nation up here, Namaland, is a very insular, it's very defensive, it's all about holding their ground basically, because they are very, very isolated up there, and this would be a hard game to play. And this will be available on Steam, by the way, so if any of you want to play this once it is out, then you are absolutely welcome to do that. And that's why I'm also kind of going for a higher level of polish than I might otherwise try to do for myself. So you'll notice that all of these had descriptions. I probably won't be doing that for all of them, but I will try and name them, because it's really ugly just having like Scandi idea _4 or something like that. So I'll probably name them all. I'll certainly allocate them all, but I won't have descriptions. That might come in later updates, I don't know, but it won't be for this one. And none of these are final, so we don't have any ideas. But I can run through what they are going to get, because I do have that in my list in front of me. So like I said, Namaland is very defensive. They have a lot of force limits, idea cost, manpower pool, discipline, and they start out with hostile core creation penalty and a defensiveness bonus, so they should be able to hold their own. In complete contrast to the  why did I pick this name? Novgorod, which are kind of a more pro-Indian Norse nation. They're more about assimilating and adopting Indian customs, and these guys are more diplomatic, they're more forward-thinking, they're more progressive, and they have got, to that order, diplomatic reputations, so they can make friends more easily with people not of their religion. Force limits, development, build cost, tech cost, and all of these are kind of coming into the idea of they're swapping ideas, they're swapping technologies, and they're trying to integrate themselves a little bit better, and yet they are still definitely Norse culture. And like the others, they do start with the adventuring Vikings abilities, so they will be culture shifting and converting anything that they do manage to take. And then down here, let's start on the further side, we have Konugard, which are the most expansionist and the most naval of the different factions. Their abilities are exploration, colonists, manpower pool, trade goods value, naval force limit, land morale. I'm just picking a few here at random, I'm not saying them all. They are the smallest, they are the one... Actually, these guys tend to survive a long time. I've run a couple of test games. I don't know why, they just don't get targeted, but yeah. Then arguably the most powerful, except for Mordgard, we have Ulstavik over here. They are a merchant republic, and their ideas are, as you would expect, quite tradey, but they're like expansive tradey. So they have trade steering, light ship combat ability, trade power, more merchants, mercenary cost, naval morale, naval force limit. So it's the kind of thing you would expect. They're not hugely tradey, like their trade efficiency bonus is only 0.15, but they do have a lot of trade steering because I'm expecting them to go east and pull trade from over there, if they survive that long. And usually in my test games, Ulstavik lasts pretty well, Vitter, Bergaland doesn't, and actually Mordgard gets picked on very, very quickly, mostly because it's quite a long one. It has lots and lots of borders with enemies, so it does get picked on a bit. So it's going to be an interesting game, that's for sure. So yeah. Vitter Bargaland, which is probably my favourite name, Land of the White Tiger. Going by the number of blimmin' White Tiger events we had, that was an absolutely appropriate name. These guys are pretty combat orientated, so we have like colonialism, trade, combat, balanced / economy. So Vitter Bargaland, they have got shock loot amount, which I thought was an interesting one, so they make more money from looting. Plus, of course, everyone here can raid. So we'll be raiding the Indians a lot. And actually, all of these nations are very well positioned to do that. We'll be doing a lot of coastal raiding to make money, and it's really lucrative. Land morale, tax modifier, land force limits, ship durability, discipline. So it's kind of what you would expect from those. Okay, so that is that overview done. I'm not going to go in quite as much detail with the others. I didn't realise the Vikings were that split up. I might consolidate them a little bit better. That would explain why the Vikings keep on being knocked out. Interesting. Okay, I'll fix that. Very easily done. So we have the Vikings here in Egypt, then Taurika, another merchant republic. They are probably the most powerful of the merchant republics at the start. Their ideas very much coincide with being adventurous. They have gone the furthest. I mean, they started here in the Black Sea, and at the end of the game you'll remember they were actually trying to tap into the Silk Road. So I've tried to make them about trading distantly. If I can find my notes about them, I will explain a little bit more. Where are they? Taurika. So yeah, they have naval force limit, trade efficiency, lots of trade steering, free merchants, ship cost, that type of thing. Byzantium, I haven't done anything with their ideas, though I probably will. Alania, which is a Byzantine vassal, so that is actually part of the Byzantine Empire. It's pretty big. Volga Bulgaria, I had to do a bit of work with them to make them a little bit bigger. Actually, because these kingdoms, Holmgard, Konugard, Volga Bulgaria, were so new, they were very intermixed with lots of shared borders, so I've tidied them up a bit. That's the only area that I've really worked on tidying up, except for Denmark, and I'll explain why in a moment. This was initially the Rus tag, but I switched it over to Holmgard, because that is what it was supposed to be. And I could have sworn the Scandinavian kingdom of Rus is supposed to be Holmgard, but it wasn't. It is now. the Holmgard, caravan power, trade power, manpower, cavalry combat, something a little bit different, and of course they can raid. Volga, Bulgaria, I haven't actually done their ideas yet. I kind of realised late on that they were supposed to be done. Bilge, they are a Norse nation. They actually have the can raid ability as well as the horde idea, so they're going to be getting a lot of money from just stomping on other people, and they actually do fairly well. Like, I haven't seen them expand very much, but they survive quite a long time. And they do have a fair amount of attrition and core creation cost penalties on them, so that should keep them around for a while. Konugard, they are very much orientated towards development, tech cost, build cost. They're the economic superpower, and actually Konugard do tend to do pretty well. Holmgard, yeah, it depends. Konugard, they stick around at least until Poland starts saber rattling. And then Finland. Finland, I had great fun building Finland. Actually, they have looting ability, much like Bilge does, and actually they have more looting ability. They're very aggressive. They're like super aggressive. Infantry combat ability, they can raid. They start with some land morale. Aggressive expansion reduction, core creation cost reduction, so they are all about aggressive expansionist policies. They have some land force limits and spy network increase to kind of help them on their way. Nordiriki, I've just realised I don't have an idea group for them. I'm going to have to fix that. Whoops. So I can't talk much about them because I haven't done it. Svitjod and Norway have kind of switched positions versus vanilla. So Svitjod they're quite expansionist, they're the colonial guys. And to that end, they've got, they can explore, they get colonists, bit of free development, relation increase, so they can make more friends and get picked on less. Plus, they have a lot of vassals, and I wanted the relation increase so that they could actually keep their vassals, which they struggled with in the past. And then Norway, which is this is the Prussia of the Scandinavians. Norway, or actually they're the Sweden of the Scandinavians, really. They have got a lot of quality ideas. They have a couple of military size, but it's mostly quality. It's like infantry ability, it's land tradition, it's morale, it's that type of thing. And Norway does pretty well. Yeah, they definitely hold their own. And then Denmark. Denmark are the latest of the ones I had to split out. I don't think I've got an idea in mind for them yet, because they really confused me. The original Holmgard, as in the OPM Holmgard over here, which owned only Novgorod, owned the whole of Ireland. So I've expanded Holmgard over here in Russia and then given Holmgard to Denmark, Holmgard having been a vassal they are no longer. So Denmark starts with Ireland, so as such they also have a lot of colonial ideas. So if the Scandinavians here survive, they should be able to go colonizing pretty rapidly. So we have Svitjod who can do it, we have Denmark who can do it. I think I've given them both the ability to explore and the ability and free colonists. They don't necessarily need to have exploration ideas, and if they do, then they're just going to colonize more rapidly. And they should be in richer areas as well, so they're not going to have the problem that my Norway had in the Saga of the Titans game. Germany have a very Scottish bent. They're shock damage, shock resistance, is it infantry? I forget exactly what I gave them. Where are my notes on them? Scotland. Oh yeah, I must talk about England as well. They're a Norse nation. Germany, there they are. Aggressive expansion, land force limits, discipline. Yeah, they're quite aggressive. They're kind of the Catholic Finland. They're all about taking land. Who else is there? Poland, Bavaria I have not touched. Austrasia are fairly balanced. They're quite religious. They're quite aggressive. And yeah, they're balanced. They have land relations, diplomatic relations increase. So they have a lot of friends. I mean, they did get involved in a couple of wars against us, dragged in because they were allied with people. Diplomatic reputation, stability, manpower pool, papal influence. So they get bonus points with the Pope. Aquitaine, who were extremely quiet in my game, but I've given them lots of diplomatic ideas based on some of the comments I got about them. So diplomatic reputation, diplomatic relations, colony growth, tariffs. So they're another potential colonizer. Italy, my arch nemesis Italy, they have some pretty nice bonuses. I actually rewrote the Italian ones. They get unrest reduction, stability, development, manpower recovery, prestige, galley combat, galley cost, trade efficiency. So it's pretty much what you would expect from Italy, but they should be able to punch pretty hard. And considering they're actually adjacent to a number of the large European powers, they don't need it, but it certainly helps them. Andalusia, they are kind of religious and diplomatic, and they're balanced actually. They're pretty balanced. Development ideas, missionary strength, land relations, diplomatic reputation. So a lot of the Catholics, based on how much they were ganging together against outside threats, have given them a lot of diplomatic ideas, and that really helps them actually. I have not seen any of the non-Catholics doing particularly well against the Catholics, and even in the Reformation that didn't have much of an impact. So yeah, they're very tightly bound together, and it will be a very tough nut to crack breaking into the Catholic areas. So the Norse very much kind of chipping away at the fringes and not making much headway, at least in my test games. We'll see how that goes, because I haven't actually got any of the ideas implemented in my test games yet. This is all just on paper, and I just need to put it into the game. And then once I can start running those test games, then I'll be able to get a bit of a better handle on precisely how everything is balanced. Right, who have I missed? Burgundy. They're another colonial nation. They, of course, own Iceland. They're pretty well positioned to do that. So they kind of like Svitjord, get exploration and... they get the ability to explore without exploration and a free colonist, plus tariffs, light ship cost, trade efficiency, that type of thing. So they're very much a naval power, which, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they're a bit spread out, but yeah. Saxony, those little bastards in Saxony. They have got... Sorry, you probably hear me rattling through in my notepad. Papal influence, missionary strength. They're very religious. They're very aggressive. Well, actually, they're very defensive. Land force limits, defensiveness, hostile core creation. Like, Saxony have taken some of the Norse holy site. Well, they have taken a Norse holy site, and they were very entrenched. Like, some of our biggest wars were trying to take Saxon land and then failing. So they have a lot of friends. They're very entrenched, and they're generally pretty hard to take down. Who else are we missing? I've talked about all of those. Bilge I've talked about. Amalfi. I have now split Amalfi out from the Byzantines, so they are a nation in their own right. They are a merchant republic, as are Holland. I haven't done any ideas for Holland yet. There'll probably be an interesting mix between religious and trade, actually. They are on the very fringes of Norse territory, so they kind of need something to help themselves survive. Genoa, very tradey. And I've tried to actually separate out how the different trade nations work. So Amalfi starts as the biggest merchant republics. They have a lot of early trading ideas, but they're less adventurous than some of the others. So Genoa eventually unlocks the ability to pull in trade from really far out and pull it in. So actually, Amalfi and Genoa being in the same trade node means that Genoa is going to be extremely wealthy, especially with the amount of trade steering and stuff that these guys have access to. So that's going to be an interesting one, but only if Italy lets them live. And Italy would be actually kind of stupid if they don't. You want them pulling in the trade for you. Who else is there? We have the Patriarchate, which is basically an Orthodox Pope. I had a bit of fun basically just cloning the papal ideas and just giving them to them. We have David, who are the Bengal Empire inheritors. I might try and expand them a little bit. That's the only bit I haven't really touched yet. David have more or less the Ottoman ideas. I thought that was a pretty safe way of doing it, because the Ottoman ideas are really strong, and I want them to be really strong because they did unite most of India against us, and I'd like them to be able to recreate that, but just not start out so strong that we can never survive. That was the idea behind breaking them up, but I probably will give them a little bit of land, or at least maybe a couple of these as vassals or a personal union. Personal union might be the best way of doing it, actually. But anyway, yeah, David's there. They have got cavalry ability, war exhaustion reduction, manpower pool. They're pretty aggressive. Discipline, tolerance of own faith. Another good one. Oh, and I'm missing one, which I know is a fan favourite. The Navarrese Company. They have indeed got the Prussian Monarchy. They are going to be very much the army with a state. In fact, one of their ideas will be called the army with a state, and that will grant them land morale and infantry combat abilities. So they are going to be pretty strong. They start out, I mean, they're a little bit vulnerable at the beginning, kind of like Brandenburg and Prussia, but once they get going, they really get going. So these guys are going to be the premier combat nation. They tend to survive. They don't tend to grow very much, but they certainly stick around. And with the Prussian model, being small is actually a good thing for them. So yeah, they get land tradition DK, army land tradition, tax base, mercenaries available, manpower pool, mercenary cost, discipline, that type of stuff. They might need a little bit of a rebalance, I'm not sure yet. I think that's all of them. Yeah, pretty sure. So I think that is a pretty decent overview of how it looks so far. I can't hover over the actual ideas because they haven't been implemented yet. That will be coming. I'm sorry that I'm not going to have this game for you yet. I've just had a very, very busy week doing other things. But it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. And now you can see how it looks in EU4. The conversion is complete. Now we just need the ideas. And a couple of test runs just so I can get the balance and stuff down, because at the moment India completely ruffle stomps the Vikings over here, so we'll need to do a little something with that. But that is just the AI, that's not being played. And I have noticed that these guys don't tend to ally with each other, and I'll definitely be doing that when I play, because you kind of need to present a united front against your enemies. Actually, with the exception of Ulstervik. Ulstervik does tend to ally with them, and they live longer as a result. And they tend to be really, really wealthy because trading. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to show you here. Yeah, I think so. Oh, one other thing. You'll notice Mongolia here is massive. That's the vanilla starting position of Mongolia. But I think they actually start with a whole bunch of rebels. They're not shown here. I think they just spawn straight away. And that breaks up Mongolia super effectively. So you have a different Mongol horde system every time you play. Which is kind of a cool way of doing it, because you don't want one massive golden horde unless there actually is a massive golden horde. In which case you'll probably have a golden horde faction or two over here whom can unite with Mongolia. But that didn't happen in our game. The golden horde was very, very weak. Except for Bilge. Bilge is triumphant. So yeah, if you have any other ideas, let me know in the comments. If you like the sound or don't like the sound of something that I've mentioned here, let me know in the comments. I'm always open to new ideas and a little bit of tweaking here and there. If you have any tips or tactics that you like to use, which you think might be appropriate for some of these nations, let me know in the comments. And generally, if you're just really excited about this in the same way that I am, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you are enjoying this and you are looking forward to it all, hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, do consider subscribing, then you'll get notifications about how this happens in the future. And I very much hope to see you in a week for the real game. I'll see you then. Goodbye.